Hi there, welcome to Tea is Good, Books Are Better. The podcast where we drink tea and talk about books. I told you I would keep surprising you.
Catching me off guard. Always catching me off guard.
You looked at me with your mouth like hanging open.
Here I am, just taking a snooze.
Yep. And I'm like, bam, bitch. It's happening. Okay, today we're going to be talking about Cry to Heaven by Anne Rice, Part 4, Chapters 1 to 5?
Yeah.
That's what I said?
Pretty sure that's how much I read.
Okay. But before that...
Oh.
We're going to talk about Game of Thrones
Oh.
if you're down.
I actually
slap the notebook closed.
I actually have notes.
On Game of Thrones?
Yeah!
Bitch, me too!
My
What the
word. Well,
I wrote look, let me show you. Show me yours. I want to show you mine.
oh. It's just
Just
4
like things you wanted to say. 4 pages of shit you wanted to say on Game of Thrones? Holy fuck.
just to remind me, just to keep my brain in check, but I was quoting from an article that I was like, yep, I agree. And did some quotes.
Oh my god, I thought I had a lot. Wait, where is mine?
I'm freaking pissed as fuck, and I have a lot to say.
This is what I have, but that's not nearly as much as you.
Oh, shit. You just have, like, a brief outline.
Yeah, I have an outline, and you have, like, full sentences.
I
Okay.
took bits and pieces from articles to explain my thoughts, and I have a little, like, lots of anger.
Okay, let's start from the beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
Watching the episode.
Of the final...
The finale
Episode 6.
of Game of Thrones. The series finale. It's been, what, a week now since we watched it?
Yeah, it was last
week.
Sunday.
Okay. I'm going to start with how I felt because I think yours is a little more dramatic, so we'll save it for after, okay?
Oh.
Yeah, when I was watching it,
Sorry.
the whole time, I was just like, what? 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 That was basically me the whole time. It got to a point where, I mean, this is where it gets kind of sad. I just felt so disconnected. And I told you this already. I just felt so distant from these characters.
Yeah, the characters, I felt like, weren't the characters anymore.
It
I was watching a show now. Like, I wasn't in there enthralled in the story.
Mm.
I was watching a show, and it was like...
Yeah, your face. It felt like some sort of fever dream. Like, this isn't real. I found on Reddit a comment that someone made that pretty much encompassed exactly how I felt, so I saved it.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, here it is. I should have wrote down who wrote it, but I didn't,
no.
so I'm sorry. I always thought the ending would be sad and emotional with hints of happiness, but I never thought I'd feel empty. It felt like a different show, like I accidentally watched the finale to a show I never watched before. There was no connection, even though I'd been with these characters for almost a decade. I didn't recognize them. I'm bummed out.
Yeah. Like, I cried at the end. Just because it wasn't concluding my
Yeah,
show.
you told me that and it broke my fucking
I
heart.
was so mad. Ugh.
Okay,
Ugh.
go on. How you, like, felt while watching it. Go on.
Oh, man, I have to remember, because I was just not into it at all. And I was so, like, disappointed throughout the entire thing. I didn't relate to the characters. Well, like, I don't relate to the characters, but, like, they're real people to me, but, like, the show was just...
Well, even if characters are, like, fantastical, you should still relate to them.
I guess.
That's
like,
what makes them feel
they're
real.
still, like, they seem like real persons. Like, the show made them out to be real persons with individual needs, and you get to know them all. But this, like, last episode just, like, took that all away. And then I'm just, like, I don't know. I was really upset.
Yeah. When you told me you cried, I was like, oh, fuck. Because Mike the whole time was just cackling. He was just laughing his ass off because he's like, what the fuck is this?
Remember the ending where it shows all the Starks?
Spoilers, by the way. Spoilers.
Going their own way. I was like, am I watching a fucking sitcom?
Bitch.
What is this?
And doesn't earlier in the season, Sansa has that whole speech about how, like, together the pack survives?
And then they all go
But
their...
they all go their separate ways?
Like, I can see Arya taking off, but, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, because just Arya's been alone.
She's always
kind
been
of
the
killing
lone
it
wolf.
the whole time, right? But yeah.
Dang.
I mean, I guess they've all been alone, but Arya's been the most alone. She's been like...
I think like it's just her personality. Like she's a loner.
Yeah, I guess so. Do you want to start with what you have there?
Well, like, what I really didn't like is, like, a lot of the character arcs weren't completed.
Yeah.
And that we were left, like, confused. Like, wait, what happened to them, though? And I feel like there is unnecessary fan service thrown in this season.
Yeah.
I guess to appease, and I really wasn't into that. Like, the sex scenes between Arya and Gendry and Jaime and Brienne.
Yeah.
Really upset me, because that wasn't at all, like, it felt forced, and it was cringy.
It was, yeah. It wasn't earned.
Mm-mm.
Like, the Arya and Gendry makes more sense to me than the Brienne and Jaime,
which is
which
was weird as
which
fuck.
is weird. Like, you would think that Jaime and Brienne would make more sense because they've had some sort of relationship where Arya and Gendry haven't really, like, here and there, but
the first few seasons, yeah,
not
but,
as
like,
developed.
They separated their ways, like, went their different ways, but
it makes more sense to me that Arya would want to have that connection, like, before her last night on Earth, whereas Jaime and Brienne,
that was weird.
I don't even know. something was weird about it. I can't even put my finger on it.
It was, trying to appease some fans, I guess, because they know they're writing a shitty story.
Oh, oof.
Big letdown, I thought, with the episode, I think, episode 5. Cersei's prophecy not being, filled out? Is that the word? Fulfilled. Yeah.
Cersei had a prophecy?
Yeah,
Which
there
one
was
is that?
a episode, I think maybe perhaps the beginning of season 5, where when she's a child with her handmaiden running through the forest looking for that alleged witch, and she gives the prophecy to Cersei, right?
Yeah, I completely
She
forgot
will
about
become
that.
queen, she'll have 3 golden crowned children who won't live to adulthood. Then her throne will be taken from her from a much younger, more beautiful woman. And then her brother is going to kill her. She'll die by the hand of her brother, right? And that's a big reason why she hates Tyrion so much, because she thinks Tyrion is going to murder her.
Oh,
and I always thought it was going to be Jaime, because it would have completed his cycle of protecting King's Landing from mad rulers, right?
Yeah.
Because he killed the Mad King. Sorry, I'm getting out of breath talking so much. Like, breaking his oath and, like, abandoning his honor to protect King's Landing from the Mad King. So I would have thought that he would have done the same with Cersei to protect King's Landing, to kill her, and then get the ring, the bell to toll and get to surrender to Dany. But nope, we got this weirdo ending of them dying in each other's arms. I feel like Jaime's character development just turned right around, and he goes back to his original running to Cersei's arms.
Yeah, it was like it just made, like, his whole thing with Brienne, and, like, it just made everything else so pointless.
Cersei. How Cersei's known for loving her children above all else. And when she was pregnant, in this last episode, like, her character was reduced to a freaking stereotype fairy tale villain, right? And, like, she, like, just always bad. Like, there was no motive to why she was acting the way she was, and she was pregnant, and she was still being super reckless and not really caring about the baby, just constantly,
I mean, honestly, I think they could have made it make sense if that's what they wanted to do.
Right?
If they just had more time, had some scenes with her, like, talking to someone about, like, how she feels about Jaime, and, like, him abandoning her, and how that's affecting her, and that could...
All this season, all shots of her is her standing
staring
at
at
her window with her smirk.
So many memes about that.
Right? Like, you don't see any Cersei at all. Like, her character was reduced to this one-sided
I think
villain.
even Emilia Clarke said that when she was asked, I think this was an interview in the New Yorker or something.
Yeah.
She was asked what she would want to see if they were to remake it. And she said she would want more scenes with Cersei.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah. We all wanted that.
Jeez.
But speaking about
Danny?
actors, I guess, I do think we should give a shout out to, like, the VFX teams and the set building and the acting and the music. Because that was, it all remained phenomenal.
Yeah.
The only problem with this season was the writing.
Yep, storytelling. Rushing through it.
Yeah. And, like, honestly, even the thought, like, there's a petition going around to remake it.
I think that's dumb.
Yeah, I'm not down with that.
No.
I think that's disrespectful to all the other teams who worked on this show.
Yeah.
And I understand that, like, that would piss off, like, the actors and the creators, because I've heard that some of the actors have been like, shut the fuck up to, like, people who are, you know, saying that sort of thing.
It's not the actors who did this.
Yeah, the acting was all amazing, as it always is. And that is disrespectful to all the work that went into the show. But also, like, I think Emilia Clarke or someone else said something like, oh, people are just mad because it didn't end the way they wanted it to. Which I think is disrespectful to the audience.
Not true, Amelia.
Because
not true.
What, you're telling these people they can't be critical of a story? Like,
right.
It's not because it didn't end the way we wanted it to end. We expected things to happen that we did not want to happen.
Of course. I thought it was going to break my heart. I was going to see things I didn't want to see. What I didn't expect was the shit story writing.
All we wanted was for it to make sense.
Yeah.
People have invested 10 years into this franchise, and then they basically threw out everything that made it unique and, like, loved. And, you know, they forgot several things, as you were saying. The thing with Cersei's prophecy, the thing with that White Walker baby. Remember when he made that White Walker baby?
What happened to that?
And, like, the Dorne storyline? Like, aren't the Sand Vipers, like, still in prison or something? I don't quite remember there, but I remember.
Think the daughter was poisoned, and the mama Viper had to watch her die.
And that's just how it ends?
She's basically just there to starve to death or something.
Yeah, like, it feels like more should have happened there. I don't know. It just, the whole thing. Oh, and Arya's thing about, like, the eyes that she's supposed to kill, like, green eyes, and, like, the blue eyes she got, but they mentioned, like, brown eyes and green eyes, and it's like, I kind of want to see that, you know?
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. And then it just ended.
I wanted to know why Sir Gregor chose to betray his queen for Sander. Like, what was been there? What was there? What happened?
There was no evidence before that he would ever
Like,
do something like
always
that.
Seemed to view Sander as, like, some fly. Like, he wasn't even in his radar.
Yeah,
this
and
guy was
suddenly
so
he's here.
buff. And then suddenly he's like, okay, I'll betray your queen to fight this amazing duel. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that made no sense also. And I was also just underwhelmed with how he looked underneath the thing. Like, when he ripped off his armor and his helmet, I was like, alright, that's like...
He just looks like a zombie.
Nothing special. Yeah. The story ended unsatisfactorily. Oh, I don't know how you say that. It was unsatisfactory for me. Seems like the internet mostly agrees.
Yep.
So we're allowed to feel disappointed, and, like, these actors who are telling critics to fuck off, like, they are just too close to the project at this point.
Yeah.
In a few years, I think they'll be able to, recognize what's been done. But obviously there's always going to be the apologists who are like, oh, you know, they only had 6 episodes. Like, what were they supposed to do?
Do 2 fucking seasons! Jesus fucking shit.
Well, 1, they could have done plenty more, even with the 6 episodes that they had.
Yeah, I feel like some of those episodes were fucking just... Nothing happened.
Are you referring to episode 2?
2, the one where Rhaegal freaking took the plunge. I felt like That wasn't at all interesting.
Yeah, I'll get into that.
That episode.
We've already talked about how the battle with the Night King could have been better.
Yep, and I liked that a lot.
That would have been incredible.
That would have been epic.
I saw someone suggest on Reddit that Rhaegal should have died at King's Landing by the Scorpions to kind of trigger Dany into going on that mad rampage. It just
that would have made a little bit more sense.
It would have made a bit more sense. Also, Mike had a great suggestion when Arya is running through in episode 5 when she's running through King's Landing trying to get out.
Yeah.
And like the fire's raining down or whatever. There's that part where she tries to save the mom and the girl in the street, but she has to let go of them because the girl like runs back to the mom, right? And so Arya dives around the corner as the fire's coming, but she still gets like thrown, and then it cuts away. Mike suggested that she should have been mutilated by that fire.
Ooh.
It should have like scorched her. First, it would have been really poetic for her to end up with half a burned face like the Hound. And secondly, that could have been a great catalyst for Jon to actually
do something.
Do what he did to Dany.
Stand up, maybe say something like Tyrion did. Because I feel like Dany needs sometimes talking to
What?
Just like speak to her. Well, like she always came off as super reasonable. Like I just don't believe her madness. It happened way too fast and made no sense to me.
Yeah, like it doesn't make sense to me for Jon to be like, she's our queen, she's our queen, she's our queen, and then in the next, after one chat with Tyrion, he stabs her in the heart.
Right.
Like you would think he would try to talk to her.
I think so too. He seems like very, like he reminds me of Ned, but he's like kind of person who talks. Like
Jon is super noble, super heroic. He would not stab his queen in the back without trying to talk to her first. That took me right out of it. Like I was just like, what?
Already did this happen? Like,
yeah. Ugh. So there was that. About like to the apologists who say they only had 6 episodes, what could they do? My second point, it was a decision by the creators, the writers, David and Dan, to have only 6 episodes and to have this be the last season. HBO wanted like 10 seasons, and George R.R. Martin would have gone up to like 13 seasons with them.
Yeah, they could have done more, but they had other projects that they wanted to do instead.
So instead
of ending this epic,
they were offered a job on Star Wars. So they abandoned Game of Thrones to go get that Disney money.
What?
Yeah.
That's why. Star Wars?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I heard Ethan Klein from H3H3 on YouTube say this. There's not much that's going to be bigger and better than Game of Thrones. Right. But Star Wars is going to be one of those things.
I guess, because it's been going on for so long.
Yeah, it's an enormous franchise. So it makes sense on that level that they would want to move on to Star Wars. But for them to just throw Game of Thrones in the trash, they're just like, oh shit, that Disney money. He's like waving a fat check at them. They're like, oh shit. They just take Game of Thrones, they just like chuck it in the trash. They're like, we're coming. That's basically what happened.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Was there any more specific things?
So I took some quotes from this article called Why the Writing in Game of Thrones Season 8 Feels Off. Should I give the writer?
Yeah, of course.
Daniel Silvermint.
Silvermint?
Yeah, Silvermint.
That's a dope-ass last name.
Right?
Hi, I'm Silvermint.
Mr.
Damn.
Silvermint.
That could be a name from Game of Thrones. Silvermint.
Lord Silvermint. It's 2 pages of quotes.
Oh shit.
It's a lot. But
alright, we'll go one at a time.
Okay.
And then we can talk.
The characters took uncharacteristic actions and made uncharacteristically bad decisions, so required events could unfold.
So required events could unfold.
Yeah.
Yeah, so their decisions became plot devices rather than something that actually...
their own goals and ambitions.
Exactly. Exactly. And we've talked about some, like, the Jon thing and the Dany thing.
Yeah.
Like, Jon stabbing
so
Dany,
characters.
And then Dany making that decision to scorch King's Landing, and yeah, we've talked about that.
Shit. Characters were spared their deaths they'd sown so they'd be available for later scenes.
Yeah.
So definitely the battle with the Night King. A lot
Half
of
of the main
characters
characters
survived.
should have died.
Like, I was really shocked that so many characters survived. Like, I was like, what? This isn't Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, I thought for sure Brienne, Jamie, like, everyone in that circle in front of the fireplace, I thought they were, like, a good half of them were gonna die.
Yeah.
None of them did.
And it's not that we wanted them to die. It's just that it doesn't make sense for them to not die.
Right?
That just makes the Night King look weak. Like, oh, why were they so
Right,
worried?
like,
Why
he
have we
was
been building up to
Such
this?
a badass character for so long, and then suddenly this lame-o episode where they kill him off just like that.
I'm having a really hard time right now. I hate that, like, I'm feeling like this, but every time I want to be like, it's not the actors. It's not, like, the cinematography was mostly fantastic.
Like, the
And
music was amazing
the music
in this
was
season.
Dude, the song called The Night King, oh,
So good.
so good.
So
The
good.
song where he's marching towards Bran, that song fucking, gives me chills.
That costume designer, phenomenal.
Yeah, fuck. And oh my god, what they did for set design with King's Landing is insane.
That was great. Like, oh my god.
If you haven't watched, like, the behind the scenes things,
I haven't.
fuck.
Damn, son.
They're on YouTube. Yeah, go
You gotta get on that.
Game of Thrones. Look it up. It's an actual channel. And then they've got, like, these videos that are called, like, Game Revealed. And then inside the episode, watch both of them. You can see, like,
Ooh.
all the stuff that went into, and you can also see David and Dan being fucking idiots. Trying to explain their storyline that makes no sense.
Fuck off.
Yeah. So I just want to keep pointing out that there were so many incredible things about this final season.
We are just shitting on the writing.
Just the writing, just the storytelling.
Yeah.
Because the acting, always incredible.
Right? These, like, literally best actors for their roles. I wouldn't replace anyone.
I
Like,
wouldn't
these
replace
guys,
a single person.
everyone cast for Game of Thrones was fantastic.
Yeah. And, like, if there is a saving grace for this season, it was the acting. Like, if they can make me believe these bizarre plot points for even a fraction of a second, then they've done an incredible job. But back to shitting on the storytelling.
Organic consequences gave way to contrivance.
How do you say that? Contrivance?
Contrive. Isn't contrive a word?
Contrived is, yeah.
Man, yesterday I googled what it meant, and I knew how to pronounce it, and I was all good and shit. And then now it's like,
I can't play this.
Contrivance.
Hang on. I can't play it right now because it's connected to the... Okay, hang on.
Contrivance.
You're right, contrivance.
Haha!
Okay, so how would you explain that quote? Can you say it again?
Organic consequences gave way to contrivance.
And contrivance is a device, which gives a sense of artificiality.
So, like, things that, like should have happened to the characters, like, say, example, the deaths in the Night King battle. There should have been deaths, but they had to keep these characters around for the later later episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a bit lame.
Next.
Gone was the conflict between complicated people with incompatible goals. Again, story for the characters.
Yeah, they kind of went... That makes me think of the Dany and Cersei thing. Like, I felt like they just kind of turned that into a spectacle instead of having it be two fierce,
right,
powerful people going head to head.
Like, why did she decide to attack King's Landing instead of just going straight to
the Red Keep?
The Red Keep. Like, it would have been more believable if, like, the Red Keep soldiers were running out in chaos and she followed them into King's Landing. But going right to King's Landing first was nuts.
And if she wanted to, like, terrify Cersei or, like, just show off her power, or if she was so mad that she just wanted to destroy, then I think there needed to be that catalyst. Like Rhaegal dying, or, like, something needed to happen right then, I think.
I think so, too. Because she was always very... Dany always came off as really smart and cool-headed. Like, yeah, she was emotional sometimes and, like, made brash decisions, but I felt like she made more calculating decisions to me.
Yeah. I mean, overall, it makes sense to me that the story might end up that way, but we needed to see what would bring her to that point.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to see that. It wasn't believable just to have it happen just like that.
It was unearned at this point.
Mm-mm.
They did little things, but, like, overall, you know, there should have been more. What's your next point?
Gray morality turned black and white. So for me, Cersei became some villain when before she was a person. Like all of her nastiness or like cruelty came from human fears. Like she was very much a person to me. Like I never
she was complicated.
saw her as an evil character. Like she was definitely
a
person. But with this season, she didn't have anything.
Yeah,
that, like,
everyone kind of got just a little bit more flat.
Yeah. Characters rushed through their foreshadowed arcs for the thinnest of reasons, or in some cases, reversed their arcs entirely.
That just makes me think of the Jon being a Targaryen.
Oh my god. Like,
you mentioned to me when we like texted each other immediately after the show ended.
We should talk about this in our podcast, then we continue talking.
Yeah, we just kept talking. But one of the things you brought up was that Jon being a Targaryen led nowhere.
Right?
And I hadn't even hit me, but then I was like, oh shit. Literally nothing would have been different if he had not been a Targaryen. Except, they wouldn't have fought as much.
Yeah.
Like him and Dany.
But like it was like the biggest, like, what's the word? Oh shit, I forget. But it was a huge plot twist. Yeah, huge plot twist in the show, and nothing. Ugh.
Just went nowhere. I saw this meme.
Ooh.
I'm only like half remembering it, but like it was a picture of a guy handing another guy like a stack of money or something, and on the stack of money it said Jon Snow is Aegon Targaryen or something like that, and the other guy takes the money, looks at it, and is like, well, this is worthless.
You know, he's named after the conqueror, that Aegon Targaryen, who came to Westeros first and conquered it. It would make sense if he had, because he was named after this great Targaryen conqueror, like, wouldn't he be king? Like, nope.
Well,
we're left with this least human person.
Yep. Next.
The characters just weren't in charge anymore. The ending was.
Oh, shit.
The approach to storytelling changed in the third act. We fell in love with one kind of show, but that's not the show that's ending.
Yeah.
No amount of spectacle or fan service is satisfying if we don't buy how the characters got there. Treating the journey as equally important to the destination is how you get conclusions that feel earned, and is how characters stay alive even after they've met their fates.
That's a great way of summing it up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not just being haters. Like, there are legitimate reasons why people are angry and why people are unsatisfied with this ending. And what it comes down to is storytelling. It doesn't work.
Game of Thrones for the last 7 seasons has mostly been about the characters, their goals, their ambitions. That's all that Game of Thrones is really about. This last season wasn't. It was just about ending the show.
It was about wrapping it up with a pretty little bow.
Slapping it in the bottom, sending it out.
Yeah. Tossing it in the trash.
Next! Star Wars, here I come.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Fucking hell.
I was, again, offended. Okay, so remember when Viserion died? That was an earned death.
That was an earned death?
That was an earned death.
Yes.
The Night King was a formidable foe. I can see him taking out a dragon just like that.
Yeah, and that was there to prove his power. That was a consequence for Dany for helping Jon. And it made sense, is what the most important part is.
Yeah.
When he frickin' sniped that dragon out of the sky, we
It was
cried
heartbreaking.
and it broke our hearts, and that's because it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
When Rhaegal died, I was just like, what?
No! Like, Euron, who this piece of shit garbage isn't even threatening. Dude.
And if you're gonna... Okay, if that was there to prove how freaking powerful these scorpions are, then they should have been more of a threat in the last episode.
Yes.
But no, Drogon takes
Apparently,
them out like that.
Drogon is the shit.
Oh, you also... You've been sending me memes. I want to bring up some of these memes that you've been sending me.
Oh.
Okay. There was that one about Bran the Broken.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can find it. Because I don't want to do it from memory. And dude, the first thing that comes up is Bran the Broken meme. Okay. Here it is. I'll be Tyrion, you be Bran.
Oh, jeez.
The king shall be Bran the Broken.
Yeah, actually, just Bran is cool.
Bran the Busted Up.
Okay, or...
Bran the Wheelie legs no feely.
Oh my god. I saw
That's
memes
great.
that Drogon burnt down the Iron Throne to make an iron ramp.
An iron ramp? Oh my fucking god! Holy shit! Oh, but speaking of that one, you also sent me the one about Drogon is either the smartest or the dumbest dragon on the planet. Because these memes are freaking
No, they're
bomb,
great. Like,
dude.
it's easy to roast it.
Yeah, true. Okay, so Drogon either knew that the Iron Throne is what corrupted his mama, so that's why he burnt it and melted it. Or he looked at the only pointy thing in the room and was like, you killed my mummy.
Oh, man.
Bruh.
Shit. The Golden Company. It's something I also
Oh,
wanna rant.
yeah.
We had this big build-up on the Golden Company.
They kept talking about it like they were the shit.
They were just burnt down in a second. We only saw them running and screaming. They didn't do
Yeah.
anything.
There was just a lot of things like that. Just a lot.
Lame.
Well, have you gotten everything out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm good too. That was kind of cathartic. Just
So we're gonna
shitting
just
on
do
it for
like a
sec.
couple of episodes, a couple of like chapters, because how far are we?
Yeah, dude. 34 minutes in, we've done half our episode
Oh
already.
shit! Maybe we should just like maybe do
2
2 chapters and then 3 chapters for the next episode.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. If you noticed, I've done some doodling again.
Yes, they look great.
I'm such a. You see my beautiful horse?
It has like a beak.
I can't draw horses. That's shit.
Okay, let's get into it.
Hey, you wanna know what tea we're drinking?
Yes, please.
Tetley's blueberry ginseng. Ooh, you like?
Nice. Yeah, it's actually really nice.
Refreshing.
Yeah. Man, if this was iced, that would be so bomb.
Dude, I even have a tea jug. I could do that
You
shit.
should try that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's finally start this episode.
Last time,
Where did we
Tonio
leave
had
our characters?
finally sung to Guido,
Yeah.
and Maestro
Kavala.
thanks, I was gonna say what's his face, was like, magnificent! No,
Make me
your
what?
voice.
Oh, magnificent, yeah.
I was trying to do an accent. But failed spectacularly. But yeah,
That's okay.
he said Tonio's voice is magnificent, I think.
Cool.
Perfecto.
All right, let's get our minds off Game of Thrones and get into Crad. You're the sound you made. Ugh.
Ugh.
We'll look forward to the books.
Ooh.
All right, Cry to Heaven by Anne Rice, Part 4, Chapter
Chapter
1. All right, let's get into it. Tonio is unpacking his trunk back in his attic room in the conservatorio. The maestro had offered him a room on the first floor, but Tonio did not want to give up his view of Vesuvius.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to see it so he always remembers the lesson he learned on the mountain. He thinks he will need the reminder to keep him strong as he faces the new challenges that will arise in his life. It also says something like, he has a feeling that the worst is yet to come. And then it says, and he was right about that. I've talked about this writing tactic before in this book. Anne Rice has used it a few times, like in the earlier chapters, but we haven't seen it in a while. I think I've officially decided that I don't like it.
Please re-educate me.
Okay, so far, this is probably my one actual complaint about this book. It's kind of like that whole trope, like, and little did he know that his whole life was about to turn upside down. You know, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
It just makes me roll my eyes. Like, I think it would have been a lot more powerful to just leave that last sentence out.
Yeah.
And have it end with, he had a feeling the worst is yet to come. Because that leaves the reader with this sense of unease.
Right?
Right? Because they don't know the answer. If she's just like,
And he
and he was right about that, it takes away that feeling of tension.
Uh-huh.
That makes sense?
It makes sense.
Okay. It is a really old-fashioned technique, and I should acknowledge that this book was written in the 80s, so I can't fault Anne Rice too much. Like, fiction writing has evolved a lot since the 80s, so can't fault her too much.
That's true. So it was written in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I mean, she wrote this after she started the Vampire Chronicles.
Yeah, of course. 1982.
Oh, 82.
Early 80s. Yeah. But that's my,
Nice.
I was gonna say that's my writing complaint of the day, but we've just been complaining for half an hour about other writing stuff.
complaint of the day?
Alright, moving on. It's a struggle for Tonio to get into the rhythm of the castrati school. His trunks delivered from his family are full of memories of Venice.
Oh.
Yeah, and the other students are still pretty hostile. He gives up his purse and pistols to the maestro, but refuses to give up his sword and stiletto. Not sure why those things specifically. Perhaps he feels the need to have something to defend himself.
He doesn't trust the other boys.
Yeah, they're still kind of iffy. After a bit of back and forth, during which the maestro cites the student Tonio injured, the maestro gives up and allows Tonio to keep his sword and stiletto. And Tonio's actually astonished.
Me too!
He had been utilizing his whole behave as if you were a man lesson, and he can't believe that it actually worked, like with him trying to manipulate someone else. He's beginning to understand that what he learned from his night on Vesuvius was a mode of behavior. No matter what he feels, he will behave as if he doesn't feel it. Yeah, it's like fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Seems pretty adult. Like he's kind of like maturing a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, going through what he's been through.
Yeah.
It's gonna mature someone real fast.
True.
Tonio regrets injuring that other student, named Lorenzo. Not because he didn't deserve it, but because he might cause trouble later.
Yeah.
That's kind of savage of Tonio. He's like, I don't give a shit that I hurt him. I just don't want him to come for me. That night, Tonio hears the older castrati students wandering around outside his bedroom. But this time, he's ready. He invites them in, gives them some wine, and he talks randomly about the weather and such.
I thought that was so funny.
Yeah. But really, he's just sizing them up to determine who of them owes loyalty to Lorenzo. So he's worried about this guy.
Yeah.
The tallest is Giovanni, who has a, quote, tolerable voice. Savage again. Also, isn't one of Carlos Bravo's named Giovanni?
I think so. It's a common Italian name.
Yeah, that's so unusual in fiction, though.
Makes me think of Pokemon, that he was clearly supposed to be some Italian mobster.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, in fiction, it's super unusual to name different characters the same thing.
Right?
Because it gets easy to confuse the reader. And I was definitely like, wait, what? So I kind of wonder what Anne Rice's intentions were here. Was she just trying to be, like, maybe accurate? Or, yeah, maybe she forgot.
I don't remember. I'm not going to go searching. I don't care.
But anyway, Giovanni seems willing to accept Tonio, so Tonio moves on. The next is Piero, who has a better voice and is one of the ones who hurled a lot of verbal abuse at Tonio before. But Tonio thinks he just wants attention because he gets kind of excited to answer whenever Tonio asks him questions. And by the end of the visit, he's basically trying to impress Tonio as if he's a superior, which he is not.
I thought it was really smart of him to do this.
Yeah.
To get to know these kids.
Yeah. And
Who've been
sort of
picking
like
on
get
him.
on their good side.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, this tea is good.
Let's move on to Domenico.
And lastly, there is 16-year-old Domenico. Is it Domenico?
I don't know. I think Dominic. Then with an O.
Domenico.
Oh.
Domenico. That sounds weird coming out of my mouth. I'm just gonna say Domenico.
Okay.
Who was described as so exquisitely beautiful he could have passed for a man or a woman. He even kind of has the shape of a woman, thanks to the flexibility of his eunuch bones. But he doesn't talk at all, and his expression never changes. Tonio has never even heard him sing.
Or talk.
Yes, but he's caught Tonio's eye, that's for sure.
I'm like, is Tonio crushing on this kid?
Well, if someone is so exquisitely beautiful they could have passed for a man or a woman, I want to see that, dude.
Yeah, I'd be kind of like startled and
Yeah.
ogling. Try not to ogle, but
I would ogle.
ogling. Don't want to be rude.
Yeah. You don't want to be rude? What, by
Just
ogling or by not ogling?
Straight up staring at.
Oh, I thought you meant don't be rude by not ogling. He just expects to be ogled at, so make sure you do it, guys. Just make sure you just stare a little bit,
Oh
just so
my
make sure he
God.
sees you looking.
No.
Okay. In the coming opera production, Domenico is going to be playing the part of the first woman. Prima donna? That's right?
Yeah,
Okay.
seems like that. Prima donna.
Antonio suddenly blushes at the thought of Domenico dressed up as a lady. He tries not to think
Oh my.
he tries not to think about it, but can't really avoid it. And Domenico seems like he might be noticing that Tonio's, checking him out a little bit.
Yep.
When they leave, Tonio tries to sleep. When sleep doesn't come right away, he imagines being on Vesuvius and the rumble and roar of the mountain. And that becomes a ritual with him every night for years.
At first I'm like, did years freaking pass?
I thought we were doing a giant time jump,
Right?
but no. We didn't. I'm glad we didn't, though. Time jumps just, shake me.
Right?
I'm just like, oh, what?
What happened?
Alright, that was the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2. The next morning, Tonio wakes up in a great mood. He likes how the conservatorio looks and smells, and he even enjoys the plain breakfast. And he's excited to start his studies with Guido. He heads down to Guido's study, where Guido is making notes at his harpsichord. Antonio decides that Guido isn't bad looking at all. That's such a true
Why?
thing. I feel like the more you like someone, the more, attractive they become.
Right? They definitely.
For sure.
They're definitely more appeasing.
Mm-hmm. You just, you know them, you like them, you're like, you're gorgeous.
You see who they are.
Yeah, exactly. It shines through them.
Mhm.
Shines through their
Not the shell they're
outward
in.
appearance. But Tonio knows that if he thinks of Guido as the same man whom he had met in Flavago and traveled through Italy with, he knows he will despise him. So he avoids thinking about those times. Guido starts talking without even greeting Tonio. I want to read what he says, because there's not a good way of summarizing it. This is Guido speaking to Tonio. Your voice is extraordinary. You've been told that enough. So don't expect further praise from me until you can earn it. But you have gotten by for years doing what you like and what you don't understand, singing songs well only because you have a perfect ear and you have heard others sing them properly. You shied away from anything you found difficult, taking refuge again and again in what is enjoyable to you, what is easy. So you have no real control over your voice, and you have many bad habits. And you're 15 years old, which is very late to start really singing. But I can tell you right now that you'll be ready to perform on any stage in Europe in 3 years if you do everything that I tell you. Whether or not you really want to be a great performer doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I'm not asking you. You have a great voice, therefore I'll train you to be a great performer. I'll train you for the stage, for the court, for all of Europe, and after that you can do what you want with it. So that is how Guido thinks of Tonio's voice. Tonio is furious. He doesn't like that Guido didn't even ask him why he returned. But Guido doesn't give a fuck.
Nope.
He's just like,
He's only here to perfect.
I'm here to make you perfect. Yeah. He tells Tonio to never speak to him with that attitude ever again, because he is his teacher, and the lessons begin. That day, they start with a simple accentus, which I researched. Did you research it?
Man, there is so much music terminology.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I'm overwhelmed.
So accentus is a style of church music that emphasizes spoken word as opposed to harmony. If you understand if you get that.
So this helps me remember my church days.
Yeah. Just reminds me of those like hooded dudes who are like
I was thinking of when the priest would bless the
yeah, no, that's what it is. It's the one I did. It's probably more of the harmony.
The bread.
But you're right, like
the blood Jesus. Like sometimes he would
hold up
the words into sort of like half singing.
Of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.
That
sort of thing, right?
Amen.
Amen. Yeah. So something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tonio was given an ascending scale. Ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la.
Sounds familiar.
I'm not gonna sing them.
Nope.
And
You know what we're talking about.
I don't even know what notes those are. Anyway, it turns out to be a lot more complicated than I would have expected. Each tone has at least 4 notes around it, and the scale needs to be sung in one breath without hearing the breath, and each note needs equal attention, and the vowel sound needs to be pronounced perfectly, and it needs to sound fluid and natural. Holy crap.
Perfecting the voice sounds like hard work.
Yes, it does. And it makes me wonder how much research Anne Rice did into like vocals and singing.
Probably a ton.
Probably a ton.
Whoa, she was using a lot of vocab that I was like, what?
Yeah, like I don't know what any of this is, but it sounds right.
Exactly. Imagine she's making everything.
Oh my god. Yeah, that makes less sense. Anyway, the first day Tonio thinks he's going to lose his mind from singing the scale so much. Mm-hmm. But the second day he starts to notice a change already.
Oh shit.
Each time he starts the scale again, he feels as if he's tackling a new aspect of it. And by the end of the first week of practicing the scale, he can tell that his voice is changing completely.
He learns fast.
Yes, he does. Also, every time he is starting to get tired and, like, delusional, just from being so tired, Guido seems to sense it. He sends Tonio to the standing desk to work out some composition and counterpoint. He doesn't allow Tonio to sit at desks anymore because it's not good for his voice or chest, apparently.
Yeah, apparently it hurts your lungs. I
Hurts
don't
them?
know. I don't know what physicians thought back in the 18th century.
Yeah, who knows? What's weird is that I feel like I can sing better when I'm sitting.
Really?
Yeah. But that's just because I have no idea what I'm doing, probably. Eventually, Guido adds more notes to the scale, which is super exciting to Tonio, because it's something new. Ish. When Guido gives him new areas, Tonio launches into it right away, only to realize he should be trying to apply what he learned from the accentus. But he realizes he had been applying it all along, and he is finding a new smoothness and control over his voice. One evening when he's going to bed, he notices that it had been at least 10 days since he had thought of the terrible things that happened to him. So, concentrating so much on the music is making for a good distraction. Mm-hmm. The next morning, Guido tells Tonio that they will begin with the esclamazio. I tried to look this up as well, but I actually had some difficulty. The word that kept coming up on Google was exclamazione, which just translates to an exclamation. But eventually I found some pages from a book called Music from the Earliest Notations to the 16th Century. That sounds boring as hell, doesn't it?
Yeah, did you actually go through it?
Well, I went through, like, the one specific section, right? Because Guido, oh my god, Google was like, this is what you're looking for, right? And it just showed me the page. It talks about an Italian composer named Giulio Caccini, who was apparently one of the founders of the opera genre. In the text, the exclamazione is described as the foundation of passion and shows the directness with which the emotions were to be physically portrayed. It consists of the gradual loudening of the voice on long notes into an outcry, made more artful by first diminishing the volume before beginning the increase. And Caccini warns that this technique is not for beginners.
I can imagine. But it sounds like an exclamation.
Yeah. It being not for beginners is true in the book as well, because this jump to esclamatio would be unthinkable for any student other than Tonio, according to the narrator. And it turns out that I didn't need to look up the esclamatio at all, because Anne Rice explains it. She explains it right here in the book.
God damn.
I'm a fucking idiot. I should have just kept reading. Her explanation is probably easier to understand, too. Even though it's basically the same thing. Esclamatio, the slow and perfectly controlled swelling of a note from a soft intoning of it to a louder and louder amplification of it, diminishing slowly to a soft finish. Or it might begin loud, diminish to a soft middle, and then build again to a loud finish. In either case, absolute control is essential. Volume doesn't matter, but the tone must be perfectly beautiful.
Nice.
Yes, interesting. I tried to look it up on YouTube as well so that we could listen to it, but I could not find anything. And I searched for a good 3 minutes.
A good 3 minutes sounds like hard work.
Yeah. But I did end up falling down this rabbit hole of videos. I didn't find any examples of the esclamatio, but I did find a video of a guy learning to break glass with his voice.
Oh my god.
And it was entertaining as hell, so if you want to watch it, the video is by Mike Boyd on YouTube.
Does he?
Yeah, he does it!
Holy shit.
He learns to break glass with his voice.
Does he go really high? Is that...
No, it's about being on the same frequency as the glass.
Man.
I wonder if I can just show you the one part where he breaks it.
Wow! Holy shit.
Yeah, it's just about being on the same frequency as the glass.
It's funny.
So he dings it with a knife to get the frequency.
Man, he must have good ears to freaking hear. Oh, Jesus.
Well, he would actually put a straw into the glass when he was first starting. And so when he, screamed at it or whatever, tried to break it with his voice, when the straw would start to vibrate is when he knew he was on the right pitch.
Oh.
Yeah. So, back to Cry to Heaven. It's a super distracted episode.
Ugh.
Over time, Tonio realizes that he despises Guido due to his barbaric manner, but he also realizes that Guido despises him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we expected this. But Tonio falls into the trap of trying to get affection from Guido. He attempts casual conversation, but Guido just jumps straight into the lessons every time.
He's not here for it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, that's not what our relationship is, buddy. Finally, they move on to ornaments, which involves new sounds or combinations of sounds to add to the melody, and the sense of when to add them. I have no idea what this means, but a professional singer or vocal coach probably would, I guess. I don't know. Tonio slowly becomes nothing but his voice. Sometimes he and Guido go so late that the maestro has to come in and send them to bed. And Guido dismisses Tonio immediately every time that happens, and Tonio just feels empty after.
I know. Feel sad for this kid.
Sometimes Tonio watches other lessons, and he notices that Guido despises his other students as much as Tonio, which sometimes comforts Tonio, but sometimes makes him feel worse. Especially when Guido beats them.
Yeah. I forget.
Why is he so goddamn violent? Fuck.
Hey, teachers beat their students all the time.
Yeah.
Mom used to get hit by her teachers.
True. One day, Guido beats little Paolo, basically just for being too smiley and happy.
Poor kid. That's the kid that was in the carriage with Tonio when he first
the one they
up.
traveled with. So Tonio loses his temper at Guido, but Guido just laughs at him. Super dark and concerning. In their own lessons, they move on to passages, which is taking a line of music and breaking it up into smaller notes. There's a lot of description of what exactly Tonio is. Oh, ew.
out of here!
Oh my god.
Got it.
There was a bug on my laptop and Jess just killed it.
It was a baby fly.
Yeah, I was trying to blow it off, but...
It was like, nope.
Yep.
These legs are too strong for you.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of description of what Tonio's doing with his voice in these chapters.
Yeah, no, it's like, I don't know what you're doing.
Like, I'm really dumbing it down for this summer here. Like, Anne Rice has several paragraphs dedicated to explaining the vocal techniques.
I barely wrote anything down because I'm like, nothing this is going in my head.
Yeah, it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. Or it goes in one eye and...
Goes in one eye and
out the other eye.
Out the shooter?
Out the
shitter?
Out the shitter? You just shit it out. It's interesting because it's complicated. So, like, it helps me understand the challenges that Tonio is facing.
Yeah, because life is hectic now.
Yeah. But it also just kind of leaves me confused.
Yep.
Like, we're not singers. We don't know what it means to keep intact the verbal sense of the passage and its underlying thematic purity. So, yeah, I found myself just kind of skimming these paragraphs.
Same.
Yeah, okay. Fundamentally, this is all Guido needs to teach Tonio. The rest is variation and refinement. Normally it takes a pupil 5 years to master it, accentus to esclamatio to ornaments to passages, but Guido is feeding it to Tonio really quickly so Tonio doesn't get bored, and because he's actually absorbing it all. Like you said, he's a really fast learner.
Mm-hmm.
Tonio also has the ability to work on all aspects of his vocal technique at once. So Guido writes him complicated vocalizes that are based on Tonio's specific needs. Tonio, when he understands that this is the basis of his study and what lays ahead is just perfecting it, bursts into tears at the harpsichord. He is mentally and vocally exhausted and he hates Guido. And he's suddenly terrified at the idea that he did this to himself for his own pleasure. And if he lets go of this, then what is left? He wishes Guido would leave. He says to him that his voice is coarse and all he's learning right now is just how bad his voice can sound. And he has to go to bed now, but Guido tells him to go get dressed because they are going to the opera. Tonio is immediately re-energized and starts getting excited. And yeah.
Yay, the opera.
That's the end of chapter 2.
Yay.
Thoughts?
That was a lot of words and a lot of vocabulary I didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Did a lot of skimming in these 2 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Barely wrote anything in my notes, just like only the drama
Right.
between the characters.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they're doing.
So it feels like these 2 chapters are just kind of like setting the scene of like what his life is like.
Definitely.
That's that for this episode then, because we've gone on for an hour already. We complained for half an hour about Game of Thrones. Okay, so that's the end of this episode. On the next episode, we're going to be tackling chapters 3 to 5 of part 4.
Nice.
And
Is there any more in part 4?
yes, there is.
Oh my.
Yes. I was like gonna do up to chapter 8, I think.
Yeah.
Which would have been halfway through part 4.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's 16 chapters in part 4. I was gonna do up to chapter 8, but then I noticed that I had like already way too many pages of notes. So I was like, oh, I should probably stop. Otherwise our episodes are gonna be like super long.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so let's plug our stuff, I guess. My Instagram is Crimby. Jessica's is jess.egan24. So you can follow us separately there. We have a page on Facebook. Search Tea is Good, Books Are Better podcast on Facebook, and you'll find us there. And you can read my writing if you want to at ravenegan.wordpress.com. Okay, we'll see you next time then. Ta-ta!
Get out of here!
Shit.